Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tash. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. This is going to be a video of my January wrap up. We're already in February. I read a total of 10 or 11 books, I believe. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I had a pretty good month, so we'll just get straight into the video anyway. So the first book I read this month, which I started on New Year's Day, was Marriage for One by Ella Mace. I'm not gonna lie, I was very disappointed with this book. I gave it 3.5 stars. It fell flat. Couldn't connect with Jack. He just made the story unbelievable, if that makes sense. I didn't feel like it was a real, I don't know, he was trying to be a mafia don almost, with how possessive and controlling he was over her, but really he was just a business owner, and I was getting the ick really bad. I'm like, if you're gonna be acting like a mafia don, you've got to be a mafia don. You can't be him. Anyway, to be honest, I had really high hopes for this book and it was just a bit of a letdown. Just a little bit of background about this book. It was about Rose, who her uncle passed away, and part of the will, in order for her to get this shop that she wanted to open up her own cafe, she needed to be married, and she'd just broken up with her partner, and basically Jack jumps in and says, look, I can help you, rah, rah, rah. I'll buy the building, you can just stay in there and pay little to no rent at all, and they'll go into a fake marriage in order to, yeah, so that's their solution. They basically get married, and yeah, not my favorite marriage convenience. And I know a lot of people love it, so just because I say I don't like it, I mean, I'm not going to say to write it off. It just wasn't for me. I think I've read too many mafia books, and the way he was acting, he was trying to be one. He was trying to be a don, and it's not going to work for me. It made, yeah, no. The next book I read was Kindle Unlimited book, which was Iced Out by C.E. Ricky. This was my first book of theirs. It was really good. I enjoyed it. I just think it needed a bit more substance. So this book was about two hockey players, romance, and they were rivals in high school, and 4 years later they end up being on the same team again. Doesn't start off great as per usual, but then they get into a friends with benefits scenario at a party one night. Basically they like dare each other to push their limits. They try to see who will go the furthest, and it ends up with them like in a bathroom daring each other to, you know, do what they need to do. From that night they win the game following that, and this is quite early on in the book, but I'm not giving away anything, but from that point onwards they say, because they're quite strict with having rituals that they do before the night to make sure that they win, and they stick to those rituals the night before every game to make sure that, you know, they're staying consistent. And then because of what they did the night before at the party, they think that that's what made them have the first win, and they continue to hook up from there, and becomes the friends with benefits sort of scenario, but rivals with benefits because they don't get along, and there's a lot of back and forth. But I just think this book, the only thing I needed from it was, if you're wanting a spicy book, definitely go for it. It was just spice every second chapter, because obviously that's what they're doing, but I needed more. I don't know, there was some cute moments, it just, I don't know, it didn't hit the same for me. The concept was there, the execution for me personally didn't work. I know, again, this is another book that lots of people have liked. It was still good. I'm not going to say it was a terrible book. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I don't know, I needed something more from it. So yeah, I gave this 4 stars. Yeah, so I gave this 4 stars. So it was a little bit better than Marriage for One. Knotted by Pam Godwin. This was like the 4th book I've read of Pam's, and I've loved a lot of her other books. Again, I've really liked this book. It was really well done. I think the execution of the darkness could have been, well, I'm not going to say it wasn't dark, because the first few pages there's like on page SA, so it's definitely dark. I just think once that point went on, how the characters dealt with it was a bit childish, and it wasn't as dark as what I wanted it to be. But again, they were children, so I can't hold that against. I think it was just I'm in my mid to late 30s. I mean, mid to late 20s, not 30s just yet, okay? Anyway, basically, this is a dark cowboy romance. There is a ranch that a group of people, there's like a few different family members that all grew up on there. Two families basically run the ranch together, but then the mothers passed away early on in their childhood, and then the dads run the ranch together. One night they have something happen, which this is in first chapter, the on-page essay, and everyone's there to witness it. Their dads, this is, sorry, again, still all within the first few chapters, the dads end up taking and separating the two kids who were trying to get together, because there were one boy from the dad and the daughter from the other dad, and they've basically forbidden them from being together. So their names are, sorry, I haven't mentioned this, their names are Jake and Connor. So Connor ends up being taken away by her dad, and through life dealing with what happened without ever speaking to them for many years, and they both have to all deal with this completely differently, completely separately, all isolated, all alone, and it's them all trying to get themselves back to each other. And yeah, once they get back together, it's them figuring out why all these things on the ranch, which they think were normal, are not so normal, and they're working out all the secrets that are on the ranch and their fathers are involved with, and it's basically a mystery in it. I didn't guess the mystery, I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good. It was really hyped up to me, and it didn't quite hit the same for me. It was still a good read though. I keep saying this about the last three books, but I do wish that I continued reading the series. So I've got the two other books still on my shelf, so I'm definitely going to pick them up this month for sure, because it was interesting, because I think it's different from like your usual cowboy romance. Yeah, I think I enjoyed that aspect of it being different. I just think the execution wasn't where I wanted it to be. Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. This was another book I've read this month. I did also put up a reading vlog on my channel, so if you do want to go watch that, or I'll link it here above. So this is Lena and Nash's story. It is a small town romance. It follows on from The Things We Never Got Over, which is the first book in the series. In this book, Nash is a cop and Lena is returning back to town, and she's basically there on a secret mission that she's not allowed to discuss as part of her job, and Nash is really concerned and wondering why she's doing that. So Lena is actually Knox's ex-girlfriend, which you do meet in the first book, and just a little backstory. So that is here. So it's Nash's going after his brother's ex-girlfriend, brother's ex-girlfriend. Yeah. That was a bit of a tongue twister. Quite steamy, it's quite spicy, there's a lot of tension. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. What I did love about this book was that it did have incredible plot, and the writing was my favorite. I also enjoy that Lucy always has a lot of dialogue and not a lot of inner dialogue. I mean, there was some, I mean, you've got to have a good balance, but what I do like is that it's not very heavily in their thoughts based as a book, as well as also the side characters. You just get so much from them and they're so good. I love Sloane and Lucian. I always get this wrong. Anyway, I love seeing them, and they're getting their book next, so well, I think it's Sloane. I'm assuming, because they were flirting this whole book. They do say it is enemies to lovers. I wouldn't even count this as rivals to lovers. They literally have a disagreement for like 2 seconds and then they're back to flirting. So I would say that that was badly advertised as a trope. Anyway, other than that, I really enjoyed it. 4.5 stars. It's just the banter in it. Lucy does a really good job every single time. And yeah, the only thing that was a pain point for me was that I did sort of lose interest about 3/4 of the way through. I don't know. I think it's because the characters were like together. And you know, like once a character gets together, I'm just like, oh, they're together now. Anyway, that's my only pain point. But yeah, the rest of it, loved it. 4.5 stars. Promise Me Always by A.L. Jackson. This was a book that was sent to me by the author directly. I love this cover. Look how stunning. Beautiful. I enjoyed that a lot. I really enjoyed this. It has really good tropes. It has single dad, it has forced proximity, fake dating, fake relationships. So yeah, I think it's got really good tropes. I think the writing was really nice and the plot was good. Spice was amazing. Only thing it was is again, it was quite slow for me to fully get into. That's like, I enjoyed reading it, but I wasn't immersed in the book where I didn't want to put it down. Like, I could have been talking to my partner and it would be no issue for me to put the book down and just speak to him. Usually when I'm like obsessed with a book, I don't even want to like acknowledge him. I'm like, stop, I'm reading. But this book, I was just sort of like, oh yeah, you know, I hope that makes sense. Another fake dating book I did read this month was an ARC I received from NetGalley, which was The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. This was a non-spicy book for me, I'm not gonna lie. I gave it a 1 spice rating. I did give the book a 3-star rating, and yeah, there was really good banter. It was really cute, it was really sweet. I just think that me and Lynn Painter's style, we just don't connect as an author and a reader. That's all I'm gonna say. I've tried her once before. This was the second book, and again, I just had the same scenario. I just can't, there's no vibe between me and her. That's all it is. I'm sorry. The dynamic between the characters was really good. She really knows how to create like tension and banter. I just think that it's just really lighthearted, and I like the dirtier, the grittier stuff. Like, I need to get into the dark stuff. Maybe I just wasn't in a cutesy rom-com-y mood. I think it's me and the author. Yeah. I tried to give C.E. Ricky's book another go. I did go for her Don't You Dare book. Very similar vibes to Stout. They had like a dare scenario where they were at a party, and these, I think they were high school students at the time, and Aspen and Keen are at a party. They have someone, like a best friend of theirs, dare them to kiss because one of them is openly out as bi, maybe gay, sorry, I can't remember. Anyway, they're openly out and one of them's not. Aspen and Keen end up going ahead with the dare. They end up making out and realizing that they have these feelings for each other. But nothing goes ahead from there because they don't want to ruin the friendship. Then they end up going back to college or something like that. They end up being roommates. Forced proximity of them being together. Fast forward, once they're at college, they end up going to parties together, and they're basically opposites attract. Like, they get to a party and same scenario as when they were younger. They're playing beer pong? Yeah, they're playing beer pong, and it's like strip beer pong. So then they end up stripping down to then on their clothes. Then it gets to dares and they dare each other to kiss. I just had the same situation happen with the first book I read of hers. I think that it was too heavily focused on the smart and not enough on their relationship and their, like, even just the groveling, them trying to figure out their sexualities. I needed more of the self-discovery. Restore Me by J.L. Seegers. This book, it rubbed me the wrong way, but also rubbed me in the right way. Not like that. Anyway, so Sloane and Dominic are the two main characters. Sloane has just recently had her partner pass away a few years prior. They were husband and wife, and they were together for like 12 years, something like that. Her deceased partner's best friend, who she has been having communications issues with her whole life. I mean, the whole time she's known him, and he's just been an asshole, basically. They end up getting on a job together. She's an interior designer, he's a contractor who owns his own business. They end up getting on a project, and there's a bit of forced proximity in the fact that they have to work together. He basically met her first and helped her when she was drunk. She gets put to bed by him, he looks after her, he leaves his details there thinking, oh, she's the one I want to be with, waits for her to contact. But what happens is she ends up meeting his best friend, and the best friend and him hit it off, and Dominic ends up just being put to the side, and he ends up hating her for years. I'm talking years, to the point where he would treat her like shit, and it was all because he was jealous that he didn't end up with her. But in his dialogue, he would say, I'm so happy, like, my best friend's making her happy, blah, 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 blah. Like, he's so good for her. They're so good to each other. Like, I'm so glad that she had him and he had her. And but then he would treat her like shit. Yeah, he's just a fucking child. Not for me, thank you. The Final Offer by Lauren Asher. I did read this book as an ARC. I received it a few days before it came out, which was a bit of a stressful time for me because it's such a thick book. This follows Cal and Alana. Lana is childhood friends, and she lives on the lake house that Cal's grandfather owned and passed down to both of them as part of his inheritance. Basically, he has to sell the lake house which she's living in, and he's got to go back to the lake house for I think it's the entire summer to stay with her. And Anna ends up having a hard time because they did previously date before he left, and he left on bad terms, and it was all because he had a drug and alcohol addiction. He ended up getting off the drugs, but the alcohol had stayed around. So this book is heavily based on an alcoholic. It is extremely sad. I was bawling my eyes out, maybe because it was really triggering for me. It was definitely a harder read of Lauren's that I've not had previously had like from her books. Good Friends to Lovers. It is Second Chance. It does have heavy triggers, but the tension in this book, it was beautiful. It is single parent as well, so you do learn that within the first chapter. Cami and Cal end up having a really sweet relationship, and when Cami is helping in ways that she doesn't realize, and I think it's so sweet because Cal just takes it so to heart, like what she's saying and what she's doing for him, and oh, it's so emotional. Anyway, I gave this 4.5 stars. I think it's really sad that this series has come to an end. I loved the Dreamland Billionaire series, and I did see that Lauren actually has another series already coming out, which she's posted about, and I'm so happy because I just love her writing. There's only been one book of hers that I've not liked, so the only thing that fell flat for me was the ending. I feel like Cal could have groveled more. He should have had to fight a little bit more. I understand maybe why she didn't do it, but I wish that she stood up for herself a little bit more because she deserved it. She deserved a bit more. That was my only reason for not giving that 0.5 stars. I think Alana deserved a little bit extra from Cal at the end. But other than that, everything was beautiful. The writing is beautiful. It was emotional. It was raw. It was real. I loved it. The final book I read this month was The Right Move by Liz Tomford. This was a ARC I received, which I believe is already out now, the 7th of February. I'm filming this a bit late, but I received this as an ARC from the author, and this has all of the tropes. Best friend's brother, there's fake dating, there's roommates, forced proximity. I don't know, I was sitting there giggling. Like, I was giggling at this book for probably the first 40%. I literally look like a little schoolgirl with my fucking feet flipping in the air. I just eat up these tropes every single time, and Liz just knows how to write them. There is also Grumpy Sunshine with this. So Ryan is the grumpy, and he didn't want her to move in with her at first, but she's just gone through a breakup and needed to move into the house. Stevie, which is her best friend, basically convinces him to let her move in. She needs help with money to help save so she can find her own place. Ryan ends up saying, yeah, you can come in, we'll make like a contract deal. These will be the rules for staying here, and I'll help you get you into your own place. But he did take a bit of convincing because he really likes his own space since he is quite famous. She's like your typical ray of sunshine, likes lots of color, vibrant plants, you know. As the story progresses, like, he sort of starts showing his like love language to her, which is like cooking, cleaning. He's building her a bookshelf. He buys her things without asking. He ends up trying to like water her plants while she's away doing work, and it's like acts of service. So he just wants to please her because she's always so happy, so he's just wanting to give something in return. It's a swoon-worthy book. I think it was really fun. It was really sweet. It was really wholesome, and I just love the wittiness of Indy. She's so quick-witted with how she comes back at Ryan with some of the stuff she says. I love it. I gave this 4 stars. I really like the possessiveness of Ryan and the slow burn of it all. It was sweet. Love it. Beautiful. Good ending to the month. I did DNF some books this month as well. So I DNF'd Cold Hearted Bastards, which I'll put up on the screen here. I don't know. I thought I would go back to it. I was getting bored, and then I just never picked it back up, and I just thought I'm not going to go back to it, so I've just DNF'd it at like 50%. And the other book I DNF'd was Control Me by Michelle Hurd. This was the first book. I'm sorry, not Control Me, Destroy Me. Control Me is the second one. I DNF'd this at 40%. I think what was wrong with it was it went sort of insta-lobby for me at one stage. So they met and something happened. They don't see each other for 4 years until they're at some like boarding school together. It's not even a boarding school, it's like a mafia school, and they have this rivalry going on all of a sudden because he's got something in his head about her, and they have like 1 or 2 interactions, and then they have one full conversation, and then the next time they speak they're confessing their love to each other, and I just cringed. So that was a DNF at 40%. I really enjoyed this month's read. I didn't have any 5-star reads, which really upset me, so I'm trying to get a 5-star read this month. Yeah, no 5-star reads as of the month of January. It was still a good month. I did have some good reads. I hope to have better ones this month. If anyone can leave any comments down below of their 5-star reads this month, because I would love a good 5-star read for me, so I could probably pick that up this month and I'll let you know. And if you have read any of these books, please tell me. Oh my god, that was my Kindle. But yeah, I'm just gonna wrap it up here. If you like this video, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And also leave any comments about any of the books that you've read, or if you've liked or disliked them as well. Yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.